Hello fans of Marvel heroes and friends of my channel. Welcome to this very special episode on the gearing strategy and as well as the stats overview. And today's topic is about Infinity System because a lot of you these days have joined the game and asking me could I shed some light or experience on the Infinity System? Sounds a little bit confusing and so on. I'm more than happy to do so. My name is Wilfred. I've been playing this game since the closed beta. Spent quite a lot of times on this game, so I'd like to just share my experience with you. Now, before that, before the biggest update ever, there was the Omega system whereby the progress being kept at a certain level. But after the biggest update ever, there's a new system called the Infinity system that replaced the old Omega system, and with that, it's uncapped. So basically, you can earn as much points as you can, given the time and money that you have. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the progress. Now, making this video is kind of hard because I'd like to manage expectation here, because a lot of you may come from different background. You may be having a lot of points already and looking for something that a little bit different when you configure your Infinity system, or you just started playing the game, you only have like 50 points. What can you do? So I would like to try my best to sort of address a wide spectrum of you. And also some of you may be struggling with the DPS, some of you may be struggling with the overall defense or defensive kind of stats and so on. I'd like to spend some time addressing that as well. Different heroes are different as well. All right. So now, Infinity system goes something like this one here. So basically, there are actually 6 gems here. As of today, you could assign points to each of the gems in any way that you wish to. Now, each gem itself, we have nodes to it. Some nodes require more points to gain one point. Some will require less points. So like for example, if you're looking at the stats, then attribute, you have to put in 25 points per plus one certain like attribute, and some other will require 1 point or 4 points and so on. But all in all, you could put in points anywhere that you would like. And also, before I talk about where should you be putting your points to across all different nodes that you have for the heroes that you may have, first thing first, I'd like you guys to try and just take a look at your archetype. This is a very, very important information when it comes to Infinity system configuration. Archetype is the 2 attributes that thematically matches the heroes that you have. I play Psylocke, so she's fighting and intelligence. If you play Scarlet Witch, it could be energy, intelligence. If you play like Iron Man, it could be something else. So different heroes have different archetype. Know your hero's archetype is very important because these are the attributes that will enable your heroes to become a better heroes. All right. So now that's number 1. Another thing to take note of is that there are only in my opinion, there are only 4 nodes that are mandatory as a new players to expand upon. So which are the 4 nodes? The first thing first is your attribute. So there are 2 attributes that you have. So those are very nice nodes to have. But the first priority I have, the very, very first priority is crit damage. Crit hit chance. Now crit hit chance is some stats that you have to get your gear, be as the crit hit rating or your damage type, like could be mental crit hit rating or ranged crit hit rating if you do range. But this is one area that I feel can fill up can actually boost your hero for quite a fair bit, because it can give you up to couple of percentage up from the from the baseline. Another one that I find it very useful is a brutal strike chance. So that is another one that I found that at least this is a very kind of nice note to start with. So there are 4 notes like I mentioned before that I personally would like to sort of equip my heroes with if I were to start from day one, just with nothing, and build up my heroes from from the very, very fresh, like level 1 and so on. I would say, yeah, I mean, so first thing first is a crit chance, pay attention to that, and the second one is a brutal chance, pay attention to that, and the other 2 notes are really about the attribute that is relevant to you. So for example, my Psylocke is fighting, which is somewhere here. The fighting is somewhere here, all right? So and intelligence somewhere here. So these are the notes that I'll pay attention to. As in how many points you need to get into. I would say, because for example, if you look at crit hit chance, it will consume up to quite a fair bit, 200 points in order to max this point of 5%. I wouldn't really go for that way, because I'll talk a little bit about it later on how many points that you should spend on each node. But you don't need to go overboard on that, and for a reason that I'll show you in a little bit later. So to recap, for the very brand new player, so things like this sort of thing is nice to have. It's very, very nice to have. Things like brutal chance is very, very nice to have as well. Your attribute is good. Now, say for example you have already gained up to a certain, like maybe more than 150 times 4 is 600 points and so on, then what should you be paying attention to is that each of the gem itself, if you put in 50 points, you gain some benefit. If you put in 100 points, you gain extra benefit. If you put in 150 points, +1 to all attribute. Now, how do you perform trade-off when it comes to things like this? How do you know whether you should be buffing your own attribute or you like to sort of like spend points into getting these goodies here? It's not like a very easy answer to that, but I can share some light on how can you like mentally do this sort of like trade-off. First thing first, +1 to all attribute, meaning that is like a +2 kind of thing. So it is basically +1 to, because you have 2 attributes that are relevant to you. So it is like, if my side log has this one open, it will be +1 intelligence and +1 fighting. Both are relevant to me. That will give me 4% plus 4% of the damage percentage. But if you look at 6 points here, which is 6 points is 150. 6 points, I'll actually gain 6 attributes points, so it's 24%. So now, if you go against one to the other one, basically the trade-off is very straightforward. You actually, instead of 6 attribute points to your relevant archetype, you're gaining only, say, 2 of them. So it is 4 points that you would like to trade off. So does all these things matter to you with the 2 points that you sacrifice? Well, the answer could be yes, could be no. But the more important thing is that this is also rather secondary, because there are actually some nodes that I found that is rather useful to have as well. For example, things like the health. There are some health nodes around that could be useful. Let me just find the health nodes here. Yep. So there are. Hang on a second. So the health per hit. So this is a health node, for example. So if you put in like 150 points, then it's plus 75%. So if you look at my Psylocke now is 24k. If once I got this one, it's 29k. So it is close to, like, it's quite a fair bit of health that you can get into it. So things like this could be rather useful to your heroes. Let me just remove that right now. Some would like to have move speed and attack speed, because as this game is being like, there's no unlimited kind of dash, and every dash could be precious, and walking a little bit faster could be useful as well. Things like this, I find it rather useful as well. So that each one of those nodes may have something that attracts you for the heroes. As I always say, when you build a heroes, pay attention to your DPS, yes, but also pay attention to the defensive side, because dead heroes cannot DPS, that's obvious. You must be able to withstand the kind of like hard contents you may have, and what will help you, things like defense, things like the health and so on, will help you a great deal. So these are things that I would like to at least point you to the right direction. And by the way, there are also other nodes, like let me just share with you another node that I personally like is the crit damage, because I found that in this game the crit damage also important as well. So crit chance, crit damage, and the base health, those are my favorite nodes that I always pay attention to whenever I build my heroes, any heroes for that matter. Okay, now, having said all these things, right, then you can ask yourself one thing, all these extra goodies, does it worth 4 attribute points to gain? So let's break it down one by one, if you don't mind. So I would like to just go through some of this and share my thought with you, what is good and what is probably not. The mind germ here, I found that when I crit, I regenerate health. It's kind of nice, because if you are playing the end game, you probably have a crit of more than half or more than half. So you will be quite frequently regenerating health along the way. And as you tackle harder content, it is useful. Also, the cost reduction 10% is a very, very nice thing to have, because I found that when you're at the end game, when you have no basic power, so a lot of heroes these days will not have a basic power that you use at the end game because it doesn't hit as hard as the basic power doesn't hit as hard as a basic-less power. So, in order to sustain that kind of like cost, spirit cost or whatever resource cost, you need things like Medkit that return spirit or resource. You need things like cost reduction here. So it is very nice to have. But you know what? I think majority of people will be able to meet this requirement here because you need to have things like crit hit chance. So I would say all heroes would have these kind of things here, so you shouldn't be worried. And I think as a new player, if you have like maybe starting with 50 point whatnot, you really want to go for 100 point to make sure that you have a cost reduction and you got like a maximum health regeneration as well as a crit. So it's a very, very good place to start. If you put 100 of them, right? So it's a very, very good place to start. Your journey here. 100 points is not that hard to earn initially because there's a diminishing point. So I strongly suggest you pay attention to this one. At least you get your cost reduction, nice crit, some health regen, and just to get you going. All right. So now enough of the mind gem. How about the power gem is here? Ultimate has blah blah blah. Signature has brutal chance, cause all enemy to become weakness for 10 seconds, and so on. So I think in a sense this is also nice to have, but it's not really a must-have in my opinion because signature power is something that you can only pop like every 30 seconds or so, maybe 25 seconds or lesser depending on your hero design. So it is not something that you can tremendously benefit from it. However, there are a lot of association with the signature power, kind of like if you use signature power, you trigger something else here and there. So it could be a nice something that you should have. But in any case, like I said before, this is a crit chance, so you will have at least 100 points on this one, right? So to max out this one, you require 150 points. Then you have the +1 to all attribute as well to go along with all these things. So yeah, so it's something that you would like to pay attention to see whether it's worth it to put another 50 points to gain the +2 attribute, which I would say, yeah, it is. If you have already invested 100 points, then I think it is worth it to add another 2 points, add another 50 points to gain the +2 attribute, because net the cost of one attribute is 25, the cost of 2 attributes is 50 anyway. So this is something that I would just go for it. So as for a new player, this is yet another one that you should pay attention to. And with that said, you have 100 points on left side and 100 points on this side, then you are rather nice, decent here. All right. So now that is the power gem. The reality gem is the one that is rather interesting. When you use the Medkit, you reduce the cooldown of your ultimate by 3 seconds with the half a second cooldown. So an ultimate has a 10-second window provided that you do not purchase or quest for the ultimate token to shorten the cooldown of the ultimate. That was a mouthful. Okay, so if you do your mathematics behind it, so each minute you save 6 seconds, so 10 minutes you save 60 seconds. So you can pop your ultimate 9 minutes instead of 10 minutes cooldown. That's about it. Does it really matter to you? I think if you are doing kind of like farming, probably is kind of good. But this one also very interesting because when you use your signature, you reduce the cooldown of your ultimate by 6 seconds as well. So now, signature is something that depending on heroes to hero, but I think this is. But in any case, it's like a 6 seconds for 1 minute cooldown. So within the 10-minute window, you probably have like 1 minute out from it. So together, side by side, I would presume you get a lot of you get to pop your ultimate more often than ever, and it's a nice thing to have. But is it a must-have kind of thing? It's really up to you. It depends on your playstyle. You would know. You can decide, because I think from your experience, how often do you rely on ultimate to do something? Ultimate is not really a sure win anyway, depending on heroes. So you can be your own judge. But if you're already like energy heroes, then 6 of them you already get all these goodies. So that's just one thing. But will I go out of the way? Well, the answer is probably to see whether I want to buff my signature or not, because if I'm not an energy hero, I probably would like to pay attention to the signature power. Then again, it depends on what it does to your signature, because not all signatures are designed the same way. So do pay attention to, is it like a nice burst that you should use to kind of like increase the potency of your signature power. So the judge is yours. Soul Gem. Now Soul Gem is something that, okay, so this is the one that I find it rather interesting as well. If you fall below 30%, trigger your Medkit without activating its cooldown. It's nice to have because it's like one extra Medkit when it is required. And also, you increase your healing from your Medkit by 10%. And in harder content, all this little percentage all counts to success. Because in the danger room, for example, the moment you get defeated, you may lose like, you may lose the bonus chest if you get defeated too many times and so on. So I would say, I mean, this is a nice area to have. If you are a fighting heroes, then you naturally earn all these goodies. But if you are not, then would you go out of the way to gain this? I personally will not. So it is not a note that I will go out of the way to earn, because none of this really attracts me. In any case, I think if you must though, maybe the health on hit is something that is relevant, but you have to put in quite a few points to make it effective. If you take a look, oops, sorry, wait, hang on. Yeah, I try not to pump in too many points, 150. So it's a 350 health on hit, and usually you hit twice a second. I think there's an internal cooldown to it. It doesn't say here, but from my experience, there's an internal cooldown. So you earn about 700 health per hit. It may not be per second. Sorry, 700 health per second. It may not be a great deal, but I mean, it could be rather. If I have to, out of all these notes, go out of the way to get it because I'm not fighting heroes, I may go for this one if my hero is a little bit, towards a fragile kind of thing, and all these things is not bad as well. All right. So now, next one is Space Gem. Now, Space Gem is that your Medkit causes you take 10% less damage for 5 seconds, and increase your damage reduction by 1%. I would say that this is probably one of the. I wouldn't really count on this one too much unless you really find your heroes very, very fragile. I'll tell you why. A couple of reasons here. First thing first is that for me, I pop Medkit on cooldown. I do not pop Medkit when I need to, because there's so many procs from the gear, from team up, from Infinity System, from everything is on Medkit. I cannot afford to save my Medkit for that moment that I need to stay alive. Even Spirit Regen, kind of thing. Everything in this game is Medkit. So I don't know how console is going to do it, but for PC side, I macro my mouse to do a Medkit on cooldown. Whenever I press A, S, D, F, G, H, they will trigger a Medkit if I can. So for me, I pop Medkit all the time. 5 second, kind of 10% less damage is not really that. It may not save me at that moment anyway. And also, damage reduction by 1% is really, really tiny. In a larger scheme of work, it's really tiny. So I will not go out of the way to get it. However, if I am a durability hero, I will earn this naturally. Will I go out of the way to get all these points? I probably will not, because these are total defense rating. If, say, my Psylocke is not, say my hero is a defense dodge hero, total defense rating is a multiplier to the defense rating you have. If my defense rating is 0, however high my total defense rating, I'm multiplying that with 0. So it is really, don't waste your time on this one. Deflect chance, it's all right, but deflect, you still take half the damage. So it's not really a kind of thing as well. The only thing is that if you really want to do a health here as well, you could, stack some health here if so you wish to. So how much will I get? Let's take a look. Okay, sorry. I mean, I really, really want to just do not go on overboard on this one. So if I do this one, it's 29 as well. So this is another option for you to really make your hero tanky, if so you wish to. So couple this one, maybe this is the one that you want to pick if you want to get a little bit more health. Right? So that is one that something to think about. Next one is Time Gem, and I realized I haven't really keep track of which one I've talked about, so I think I'll be in loop in this video. Oops. Time Gem is a very nice note that I feel to have for reason of the following. Because when I use my Medkit, I'll gain a dash power. Dash is being limited. I have 3 dashes for Psylocke, but if I do run out, then but if I do a Medkit, I'll gain 1 charge, so it's nice, right? So I found that this is kind of nice if your hero is a little bit agile to move around. And for harder content, you are probably required to move around for quite a fair bit. And also, I have 1 additional charge as well. Instead of 3, I get 4. So it's a nice, really nice to have due to the constraint that the game developer has put upon us after the biggest update ever. So for speed heroes, you naturally will have that. But like I said before, if you're not a speed hero, I'll go for the temporal loophole, which is the attack speed and move speed buff. All right. So now, I think with that said, this is all really. Thank you very much for staying on. I know I tend to be a little bit long-winded when it comes to explaining the mechanic of the game. But I understand that different people come from different backgrounds, and I do not want to assume that you guys know certain things. So I would like to just share my experience with you from the point. And I think just all in all, as a summary, if you have low infinity points, then you sort of like pay attention to the crit and the brutal, and you grab those like extra bonuses from the gem. I think those are nice. 100 points on each one. I think that's a good start. 100 points on the note on the crit, 100 points on the note on the on the brutal. Then you get it a little bit sorted. You got a crit, you got brutal, again 2 extra and 2 extra kind of like bonus to whatever your hero is. But the more you have, you should pay attention to your archetype, because those are your priorities. 6 points to your archetype would be very good to spread across. Try to get as many bonuses that is relevant to you as possible. I do not know whether you need to have all this high health. I do not know whether you need to have health gen or not, because health regeneration or not, because every heroes play differently. You should know the gap that your heroes, are you struggling with DPS, are you struggling with staying alive, and with this whole infinity system, you should be getting sorted. Last but not the least, I do not endorse buying XP booster, because I feel that a game should be designed in such a way that everybody should be equal, in some sense that progress should be equal. We should not use money to gain progress. I endorse supporting this game through the cosmetic item, because I think a nice costume is a nice costume. A nice costume, I feel really happy when I play my Psylocke, when I play her, because she looks like the comic book that I have, and I feel really happy relating to it. But we should not be compelled to buy booster just to get our XP up a certain level. So what am I trying to say is that work within what you have. You do not need to have high infinity points to play this game. It's just it's just a game, right? So that is just from my point of view, and I'm keen to hear your questions and so on, and I'll try my best to help. But so this is all from me. Have a nice day. Goodbye.